Hi guys, right, well, back online. Don't know what happened there, but we had a bit of a technical issue. Didn't like the talk of the elephants. Didn't like the fact that these elephants were abused. Oh, it was torture. Even the computer couldn't take it, so it shut down on me. Oh, well, that's always frustrating, isn't it? I tell you, honestly, I always have these technical errors. I don't know what it is. Technology does not like me. But anyway, to summarise on the last note, which is that 78 elephants in Thailand have been, I guess, permanently set free from carrying tourists. That is incredible, and I wish all the elephants in the world could be set free and not have any chains around their ankles, because it really upsets me and it really upsets them. So yeah, that's the elephant. The elephant in the room. In other news, actually, because we were on the positive news front, if you were listening before, a restaurant owner takes out $50,000 in a loan to pay his employees during the coronavirus. Now, isn't that just amazing? I love that. So a restaurant owner takes out a whopping 50k loan just so that his employees, well, not just so, I mean, it's so that they can obviously feed themselves, but that is incredible. I think that's awesome. How selfless is that? You know, I think that's so wonderful that a man has done that. He's a pizza restaurant owner as well. His name is Phil Murphy. He deserves to be named because he is a hero. He's my hero. Yeah, that's cool. I love that, love that, love that. So that's all from a positive news for today. I'll be back. It's actually, do you know what? It's actually quite hard to find positive news because there's not enough of it out there. But if you're looking for negative news, there's so much of it. There's literally hordes of it. But when it comes to positive and good news, there's a lack of it. So we need to try and make more of this. You know, we need to try and make this a thing now. I think it's very empowering and very inspiring. You know, how often do you hear of a restaurant owner taking out a 50k loan? That's $500,000. No, it's not. It's not half a million. No. It's half of a 100k loan. Not $500,000. Gosh, imagine that. Oh god, that was a blob moment. Let's pretend that one did not happen. But no, it's very empowering, and also as well, like we did this clap the other night. I didn't know who of you took part in it, but there was a 8 o'clock on the 26th, which was like last Thursday. We all stood outside our front doors and clapped for the people that worked within the NHS, which, you know, who are doing an incredible, you know, service, and obviously are working above and beyond and are overworked because of the amount of people needing treatment right now. And also adding to that, there's like another 25,000 people that have just come out of their retirement and gone back into work for the NHS to cope with the demand that's needed at the moment, which is also just incredible. That said, I would also like to commend some other workers, which, you know, my mum rightly pointed out. The bin men apparently have already had some acknowledgement, which is cool. That's good. My uncle's a bin man, so I'm glad about that, although he's not doing that anymore because he is retired. But what about all the other people that are also helping us during this time, you know, like the sewage people? We've got to treat our sewers, you know, we take these things for granted. But we've got to, you know, flush and wash our poos and peas and pukes down those every single day, you know. They need to be treated, don't they? Eh? It's like, that's got to be kept running. People don't think about these things, but, you know, our poo needs to be flushed and treated so that we can then drink it without the poo in there, in the toilet roll. But apparently, I read a statistic somewhere the other day that the water that we drink is like 25% toilet roll. Lovely. So yeah, they do a great service, and they still got to keep treating that water. They still got to keep getting rid of that poo and that pee. What else? What, the water people, the water board. Obviously that kind of goes hand in hand with what I just said. People that deal with electricity. What else? My friend Tommy actually got in touch with me yesterday. He's a fireman. But he's also having to do way more than his normal, you know, service. He's having to move dead bodies, take medicine from hospitals, and he's going above and beyond his call of duty. There's lots of people that deserve a shout out. So shout out to you guys for the incredible service that you are giving us. Yeah, really, really do appreciate that. So yeah, let's talk about the title of my show today, which is Knowledge is Power, but knowledge of self-power. I love that. Knowledge of self-power. Okay, right, so let's just go back, rewind to the beginning. So, hold on here, actually. Let me just get a sip of my matcha green tea. Need to keep myself hydrated and this palate quenched because, talking a lot here. I wonder how long this show is. It always interests me how long I can talk for, because I can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Right, 2 seconds. Oh, I love a green tea. Absolutely love it. It's so good for you as well. So many antioxidants. Oh, it's got caffeine in it, actually. I didn't really think about that. Okay, cool. Let's talk about why I wanted to generate this show today. So, I a few years ago now, I can't remember how long it was, 2, 3, I'm gonna say 3, going on 3 years ago. I had a meltdown in my life, which I have no qualms in talking about. I'm very open about this kind of thing. I've had a couple of them in my life, but the last one was definitely the biggest one that I've ever had. And yeah, I completely lost connection of my mind, body, soul, and was rattling around in that little head of mine, like, oh, who am I? Where am I? There's a name for it. They call it the dark night of the soul, where you like shed your old identity and you really look at yourself, you lose who you are, but you're in this period of like uncertainty and lostness, and you're scrambling around in this darkness trying to put yourself back together again, and you just feel really hopeless and just lost. And it can go on for a really long time. Like mine went on for a really long time. But eventually you come out and you renew. But in hindsight, that's kind of what happens. You become someone else, I guess. Hopefully better. That's what I've been trying to make sure of. But anyway, in this quest, so when I lost track of my mind, I did everything that I could to try and claw myself back to sanity. So I had a relationship at the time. I had a work visa in Australia, and I really wanted to stay in a country that I loved with the man that I loved, and that I wanted it so badly that in doing that I kind of lost control, and one thing after another, just everything kind of spiraled, and I just lost touch of it, and I lost everything. So everything that I really desperately wanted to hold on to, I lost. I'm sure there's quite a lot of people out there that can relate to that, when you want something so badly and you kind of self-sabotage it, pretty much. You get too much inside of your brain. But anyway, this kind of sent me on such a massive quest in my life, and it's literally just taken over my life, but in a really good way. So I started off looking at psychology. I started off having a therapist, and then I was started reading a book called I think it's called I'm Okay, You're Okay, We're Okay. And it touches on like psychology and Freud, and how when we're kids, like everything that happens to us from the moment we're born to like the age of 7, like is detrimental to our development, all the way up to the age of 18. It kind of programs who we are. So I was looking into psychology, and then which really kind of changed the dynamic in my counselling, therapy sessions, psychology sessions, whatever they are. It's definitely a psychologist session. So it really changed that dynamic, and it was really, really bizarre. But I read loads of self-help books, and there's sort of analysing everything in myself, which probably made my situation worse. And then I did some self-help courses as well to try and change my thinking. And then I went traveling some more and really like pushed all my fears. I was so fearless, I just didn't care. And I was so low that I just literally took on everything. I was so scared of flying, and then suddenly I just didn't care about flying anymore, because I just didn't care if I died, which is terrible to say, but I just didn't. And then I rode a moped for the first time. I didn't drive, and then suddenly I was driving around a moped in Bali, highly illegally, but I just didn't care, and I'd never done it before, and I just didn't care. I wanted to do it. And then at the end of that day, I came to this cliff bar. I saw this cliff jump and was like, great, I'm going to jump off it. And then I jumped off this epic cliff jump. And I just didn't care. I was just fearless. I just wanted to face all my fears. And then this gave me this like new found, I didn't know what it was, but liberation, like a new identity that I could literally tackle anything in my life and I was going to survive. And from that, I was going to grow. It was incredible. And then, yeah, I traveled more and I went to New Zealand, lived in the mountains, lived by the sea, met the most beautiful people, learned to drive, did a road trip, and in the mix of that as well, I looked at meditation. So when I came back to the UK eventually to fulfill, I guess, my passions in life, and then got back to the UK and got back to London, which was a very hard place to live, very stressful, very disconnected, and obviously living, in this glorious sunshine with these big, modern, beautiful, open space houses, living somewhere that's so expensive as London and so grey as London, and so overpriced for a tiny little room in a tiny little flat. It was a big adjustment. And what that actually made me do was go introspect even more. So then I looked at things like meditation. I looked at neuroscience. I looked at law of attraction. I've looked at lots of different kind of energy healing. I've looked at astrology. I'm looking at biology and quantum physics and just anything and everything. And I've just had this incredible journey which literally just does not stop. And as I say, like, knowledge is power, but it's more than that. Knowledge is self-power. And the reason why I say that is thanks to a wonderful man called Bruce Lipton. I don't know if you've ever heard of Bruce Lipton, but he's just so beautiful. He is such a lovely man. Like, he's got the happiest face and he's got the happiest voice as well. He's got a really great voice to just listen to. A bit like Joe Dispenza, who actually I started listening to before I started listening to Bruce Lipton. Again, a really motivational person to listen to. They're like idols to me because I want to be like that one day too. I want to master my mind, master my life, and I want to help people in turn master theirs. But yeah, no, he's a really lovely man. He's got a beautiful smile, really warm eyes. And yes, Bruce is basically, he's an American developmental biologist. So he started working with stem cells many years ago, many moons ago now, actually, which is quite incredible. And actually, stem cells are not something that I actually knew much about, but what he discovered has been revolutionary. But sadly, it's not taught nowadays. He actually was, I believe he was teaching or something at a university, and he didn't agree with the information that was being taught, so he actually had to leave his job, which is crazy. But yeah, he uncovers like the missing connections between like biology, psychology, and spirituality. And as I said, I don't know if I said this on my last show, but I quite often say now that actually, because people go, oh, you're spiritual, and people, have a judgment on my spirituality, even though when I actually turn around and say to them, well, what does spirituality actually mean to you? Most of them have no idea at all what spirituality is. So it's quite funny that people have judgments upon things that they actually have no idea what it really means. But spirituality to me, what that means to me is like a connecting to myself, to nature, and a connection to something bigger than ourselves. Like looking at the moon, and not just looking at the moon, but actually really looking at the moon and understanding that the moon is in the universe and that we're a part of something much bigger than ourselves, and looking at the sun and understanding how big that sun actually is and what that sun actually does for our planet, and the yin and yang of life, the fact that we have the night and the dark, and we have the sun and the moon, and we have the tides, and we have the trees, we have nature, we have everything that is just incredible about this world, and how a flower can just grow so perfectly. they're so bloody perfect. We look at each flower, they're all so individual and so perfect. And it's amazing. It is absolutely incredible. So for me, it is just a sense of a connection to something bigger than ourselves. I guess it's a bit of a meaning to our lives. But the more I look into science, the more spiritual I do become. And a lot of things that I've always felt and known intuitively and that I've connected with over the last few years make more sense to me the more that I'm looking into science. It's incredible, and I guess it's like anything. If it resonates with you, that's what feels right for you. So yeah, I guess I'm on a quest for the meaning of life. But Bruce is a remarkable man. And basically he's a biologist, a stem cell biologist, and he is also the author of a book called Beyond Belief. An amazing book. I haven't actually read the whole thing, but I've read and listened to quite a bit of that, and I've also listened to many of his beautiful speeches. Like I said, he's really empowering to listen to. Okay, well, the first thing that Bruce talks about, which for me just completely blows my mind, and because it's not something that is fed into us at all. In fact, the medical profession don't talk about this in the slightest. So the first thing, the biggest thing for me is the belief that genes control our life. And it's a huge misconception. There is this belief that our life is predetermined by the genes that we hereditarily have. So we're born with the genes that we're kind of born with, and everything that we encounter in life is controlled by these genes. So it sounds kind of like doom or gloom, though, isn't it? Which a lot of people look at it like that. There's cancer in the family, like, oh God, I'm gonna get cancer. It's hereditary. I'm destined to have it. But it's all a massive misconception, and it's a massive untruth. It's a lie. God damn it. And actually, it couldn't be further from the truth. And genes are, as he says, like the blueprint of our life. So they're like a blueprint that we can make building blocks, so the proteins and the cells can make building blocks from, but they do not determine our life at all. In fact, we as individuals are the creators of our lives. Now, what I find really mind-blowing is cells. So when you actually start looking into this, it just is, honestly, it's amazing. So stem cells actually have the ability to develop into many different type of cells. So what I mean by that is that a cell could turn into a piece of your liver. It can turn into a certain part of your muscle, a certain part of your brain, or bone, or anything that is needed in your body at the time. It can turn and develop into, which is incredible. So one cell can adapt and change into whatever it needs to be. Now that absolutely blows my mind. And we have like 60 trillion cells in our body, which is over 60 trillion cells in our body. It's amazing. And there's one thing that control these cells and I guess decide or have a massive influence as to what happens to these cells and what they develop into. And what that is our nervous system and a central voice. So the central voice tells the nervous system what it needs to do, and then the nervous system obviously tells the cells, and therefore they then I don't know if I've explained that properly, but that's my version. But yeah, basically the central nervous system is what tells the cells what they need to develop into. So the crazy thing about this, right, is that we as human beings have the power to control these cells. So the best way is it's so hard actually when I come to talk about this and actually what I've grasped of this. It's actually really hard to kind of execute it in the way that Bruce Lipton does because I'm not some kind of science professional. But basically, Our environment is what determines how well our cells develop, or what they develop into. So it's actually our perception of the environment. So our central nervous system, or our central voice, determines what happens to these cells. So, for example, if we're looking outside at an environment, and we're not happy with that environment, we look at everything in that environment as negative, then our mind will perceive that to be negative, and therefore will have a negative impact on those cells. On the other foot, if you have a positive outlook on life and you see everything through love and joy and beauty, that's going to have a positive impact on the cells and your biology. So you are what you think. So whatever you think, you create, which is incredible. And it's kind of been it kind of aligns with what I've always thought. So things like, cancer, again, there's this misconception that, cancer is down to bad genes, but actually less than 5% of cancer is down to bad genes. And actually, most cancer is due to, even like the medical profession has now even stated that over 60% of cancer is down to, bad lifestyle, bad environment, bad food. When I say bad food, like processed food and things that we're eating, and sugar as well. But the statistic is actually much higher than 60%. But it is all contributing to like disease, and disease to me is dis-ease within the body. So it's dis-ease within those cells, which is crazy. But it's like the placebo effect. It's like, if you, like, a lot of people, they'll take a sugar pill during all these clinical trials, and they think that, the sugar pill is gonna, I don't know, cure the cancer. But actually, so you have like, 50% of people taking the sugar pill, 50% of people taking this drug, which supposedly, cures cancer. And the people with the placebo will have just as, good effects from the drug as the people that take the drug. So I mean, those results, just pure as day, just show that actually your mind is what causes everything. And if you can believe that a sugar pill, which is nothing more than a sugar pill, can cure your cancer, and it cures your cancer, then surely that just shows you how powerful the mind is. It's mind over matter. You create whatever is in your mind, therefore you are what you think. And just, that's what science says. Biology says you are what you think. And that in itself just completely, for me, blew my mind. And but the hardest thing about knowing this truth is, that you are what you think. And if you think negative, then you will have, a negative life and a negative activity in your biology system. Because obviously, like I say, like the different environments, your body adjusts to conform. It adjusts that biology to conform, which is crazy. And actually, like, it kind of sent my head into a bit of a spin, because I was like, oh no, if I'm ever thinking negatively now, or I've got stress hormones in my body, I'm like, oh no, you think what you are. So therefore, like, if you think you're going to get cancer, you will make yourself get cancer. It's like corona. If you think you're going to get corona, you will make yourself get corona. It's a very similar concept, but you are what you think. So, and there's so many times in my life when I looked at this and I thought, oh my God, like literally, like what I thought has happened. Like that time when, when I was talking about when I had this work visa in this country, and the man that I really wanted to be with, and I wanted it so badly, but I was so fixated on the loss of what was going to happen that I manifested that. But on the same footing, there's been other times in my life whereby, I've wanted things to happen, and I felt it and aligned myself with that vision. So the thoughts and the feelings are aligned with the vision, and those things have manifested. But at the same time, it kind of tripped me out as well, because I was like, so any time now that I'm like gone like on a not a negative tangent, but like my mind slips, or I do start homing in on something that isn't as positive, or as good for me, or my stress hormones start releasing in my body, I'm like, oh my God, no, quick, get out. My cells. Because I understand now that what that's doing in my body, and all those stress chemicals, what they're doing to my body, and how disease can manifest from that. But at the same time, on the same footing, I understand that you know like if I do have an illness, and that if I do keep a mental positive attitude towards that, then I can fight it. And I've been surrounded by people in this life who have had cancer, and had such sheer strength and determination that they were going to fight that cancer, and they've defied the odds. Not only did they beat the cancer, but they've outlived their life expectancy and still bloody going now. Honestly, there's one woman who's my second mum, and she has fought cancer so many times now, and I God forbid, thought I was going to lose her last year, but she's still bloody going strong over a year later. Incredible. But then there's also people who I know, on the other footing of that, who have been very angry about the fate that they've been blown, and that they've been served, and have died, and very quickly. And that's been a very personal experience. But at the same time, I understand that, and a lot of disease is a symptom of there being something wrong within you, and that all starts from your mind. Everything starts and ends in your mind. So for me, understanding that now, that actually curating a life of gratitude, joy, and happiness is more important than ever before. But that said, the spanner in the works is the fact that that is easier said than done. Um, and the reason why that is easier said than done, is because when you look at the brain, it's a very complex thing. Now, I don't know about you guys, but it's all well and good being like, yeah, I'm going to be positive, I'm going to be happy all the time. But that's not realistic, because the majority of us battle with things like mental health, anxiety, depression. We have a lot of negative thought patterns, a lot of negative and self-sabotaging behaviors that we wish we didn't have. And that's all because, right, we have the brain. So we have a brain, we have a subconscious, and then we have so the subconscious mind is 95% of our brain, and then we have the conscious mind, which is like on the frontal region of our brain, and we operate from that for about 5% of the day of our consciousness. So that's like our smart mind, it's like our creative mind, and the subconscious mind is it's like our habitual mind. It's like the program. So like from actually Bruce says it's from when we are like halfway through our mum's pregnancy, when we're actually in the womb, is when we actually start recording data. So our brains are like, I guess, like computers, and they record all this data like a memory. So everything that happens from 4 or 5 months of being in the mum's womb till the age of 7, when our consciousness actually kicks in that time is when we record our program for life. So in that program is everything from everything that we learn from the people around us, friends, but obviously predominantly our parents, and those people that are in our lives at that time. Now the problem with that is that, one, they're someone else's programs, they're not even ours, they're someone else's. Two, the other problem is that most of those programs, over 70% of those programs, are negative. They are really disempowering and self-sabotaging. And the other problem is, right, is that, so when we're using our conscious mind, when we're actually conscious and mindful, amazing, like we're running, from our wishes and from our desires, because that's what our conscious mind is. It's all the things that we want in life. The subconscious mind, however, when that is working, it's not working from those wishes and desires, it's working from this program, which is from someone else, which quite often is negative. But the problem is that when we think, right, which I didn't know, and this blew my mind when I learned this the other day, and it gave me a huge epiphany, but when we actually think, we actually go inside our minds, don't we? And when we go inside our minds, what happens then is the subconscious kicks back into the driving seat. So the subconscious is driving while we're thinking, and therefore we're running from the subconscious mind and not from our wishes and desires. So that is the problem that we have, folks. And for so long, it's like been that answer to all my questions, right? Because for so long, I've been like, okay, cool, like positive affirmations. Yeah, I'm gonna wake up today. I'm gonna read all these affirmations like Keeley, I love you, I love myself. Keeley Brand, you're amazing. Keeley Brand, you're talented. This is what I want to do in life. But why can't I do it? Why have I got this self-doubt? Why have I got to self-sabotage everything? Like everything that happened to me before, in the life that I was leading. Why did I self-sabotage that? And that's because that's my program. My program is, like most people's, is, whenever something starts happening that I want for myself, I'll self-sabotage it because, I don't think I'm lovable. I self-sabotage it because I don't think I'm good enough to have it. Or whatever the reason. My subconscious just kicks in 95% of the time and self-sabotages. Oh, God, that bloody mind. Self-sabotage and everything. And what's more, it's not even mine. Yeah, cheers, Mum. Cheers, Dad. No, but they have the same program too. But why do we have this bloody subconscious mind? What is the point of it? But apparently, again, yin yang, apparently light and dark. You've got to have the dark and override the dark in life to appreciate the light. You can't appreciate love without the hate. You can't have the courage without the fear. Apparently. So apparently the quest of life is to live this life flow to overcome this and become wise owls and then die at the end of it, I guess. But boy, it was a hard realization that actually, so when I look back on that time when I had the crazy mental breakdown when I lost everything that I was trying so hard to grip onto, and I realized I smoked a lot of weed as well at that time, and I realized that I did live in my head so much. So the more I smoked weed, the more inside my head I went. And I noticed it, like even towards the end I was like I needed to stop smoking weed, but I just couldn't. And I was with someone that smokes a lot of weed too, and it was just something that we did, and I just didn't have the strength of mind to be like, no, I'm not going to smoke it. But yeah, so I lived inside my mind, and obviously the more I lived inside my mind, the more my subconscious was playing. And of course my subconscious is very self-sabotaging. It doesn't think it's worthy of love. It doesn't think it's good enough. It always thinks that, things are never going to work out for me. And so consequently it's self-sabotaged unbeknown to me to make sure that those things that I thought would happen would happen. Which is, really, really blew my mind. And obviously for all this time, like I said, I've been doing my affirmations, I've been meditating, I've been trying to do everything that I can to try and change my self-beliefs. And then from listening to Bruce Lipton, I also then understood that you can't just change them through affirmations. You might be able to eventually, but it's going to be a really long, hard process. And the reason why is because, like I said before, when you make these programs when you're a kid, it's like a tape recording, isn't it? So it's like a computer, it's downloading all this information and it's recorded, and that's it then. It just plays. 95% of your day, it just plays and plays and plays. Now you try and read these affirmations, I am lovable, I am worthy, but they're just not sinking in there because it's already recorded, and you're just shouting at this cassette player that's playing its recording, going change, 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 and obviously it's not going to change because you need to try and press that record button somehow, and these affirmations just don't record. So then the only other way really that you can do that, so the other way is hypnotherapy. Because when you do hypnotherapy, like your brain goes through. So when you're younger, I'm going to try and talk scientifically now. It's not going to come out very well, but you have like different brain waves that your brain goes through as it gets older. So like now, you're constantly in an alpha brainwave, I think. But when you're younger, you go for like theta and beta brainwaves. So I better just have a quick look at this actually, just to make sure that I am not feeding you the wrong information. So you've got delta brainwaves, you've got theta brainwaves, alpha, and have I just missed one there? Delta, theta, alpha, and beta. That's it. So beta dominate our normal waking state of consciousness. Alpha brainwaves are dominant during like flowing thoughts and in some meditative states. So it's like the power of now. So we want to be in the now. So alpha is good. Theta are like most often in sleep. And quite often in deep meditation. So it's like, when you're going to bed at night and you're like in and out of sleep, or you're in that in between stage. That's what theta is. And delta, they're really slow, loud brain waves. And that's like the deepest meditative, dreamless sleep waves. So the best time to do hypnotherapy, not the best time to do hypnotherapy, but hypnotherapy deals with theta waves basically, and that's the best time to really try and reprogram that subconscious mind is during theta waves. So hypnotherapy can access and bring you to that state, and when you're in that state, you kind of like basically knock down like the door between your conscious and your subconscious, so you can get to the subconscious and you can record. So you can try and make new programs. Again, it's not going to be the quickest. It's not the quickest way to be able to do it. So the quickest way apparently is energy psychology. So apparently you can change, your years worth of beliefs in like 5 to 10 minutes in energy psychology. So that's something that I've been looking more into, but unfortunately, because of self-isolation, I can't participate in any psychology, because a lot of them, as anything, you've got to do workshops, which is fairly frustrating to a degree, because it's like, yay! It's like, well, actually, no, it's more like, oh God, I can't, I'm screwed. I can't change my subconscious, my beliefs. I'm always going to self-sabotage and never get what I want, which is actually quite disempowering in itself. But then it's like, okay, well, here's potentially the answer. Energy psychology, but now I'm gonna have to pay £500 for a bloody workshop to change my mind, which it is worth that money, don't get me wrong, but the problem is that obviously I can't attend those workshops right now, because obviously this self-isolation, this bloody corona, so yay but nay, but it's cool. I'm going to try and find a way around it, but there's so many different forms of energy psychology, so I'm looking into this a little bit more. Bruce always talks about I think it's called Psychic K, but I have started looking at something called it's kind of like meditation, but not all at the same time, but it's called brain sync. All right, so binaural beats. We're going to say binaural beats. I'm terrible at pronouncing things sometimes. So binaural beats, right? So basically what these are, they're like sound waves which drive your brain activity into ideal states of consciousness. They balance the right and left hemispheres for whole brain thinking. So when I say whole brain thinking, oh my God, there's so many things I can go into here. So whole brain thinking, so you get the right and the left side of the brain. So they always say there's a misconception as well, right, that we only use 10% of the brain. That is a load of poo. Again, a load of poo that's fed to us. What is happening here, people? Why are we fed all this misconception? So they can control us. But anyway, you've got the left and the right side of the brain. So like the left is a logic, right is emotional. And they say that you can always only use one or the other. But whole brain thinking is where you use all of them. So, right, check this out as well. A cool little fact that I learned. So hemisync, right? Hemisync is when you like cross. So your left side of the brain, right? When you're moving your right hand, your left side of the brain is controlling the right side, and vice versa. So when you're using your left hand, your right side is controlling that, right? But then, right, when you cross your arms or you cross your legs, right? What happens is that they hemisync, right? So your brain goes into harmony. So if you're like feeling a little bit anxious, you've had a stressful day at work or whatever, you come home, you just chill back, kick back, cross your arms, cross your legs. You will induce yourself into a much more relaxed state, because hemisyncing is so good for you. At least in a peace and harmony. Love that. Boom. Love a new fact. Really excited about that one. But anyway, so you can balance right and left hemisphere for whole brain thinking. Whole brain thinking is the way forward, people. They call it super learning. So you can increase your creativity, you can focus, you can sharpen your mind, your memory. It's just perfect. But basically it leads to happiness. It leads to more joy and more gratitude, more calm. I need to look into this a little bit more, but that's what I know so far. So all about the hemisync and the whole brainless right now. Also as well, in the ancient wisdom of the world, they used to have something. There was a prophecy about the eagle and the condor, and how they used to work and live in harmony together, and then they went out of sync and they didn't live in harmony anymore. And I guess it's like a prophecy of today's world, the left and the right brain of us as humans becoming separate from each other, that yin and the yang becoming adverse against each other, and we're not working in cooperation anymore. We're actually working against each other, and we're actually competing, and we're living in this world of survival of the fittest, and killing each other to be the winner of life, to be the winner at the game of life. But that's not how it works. We work in a world where Mother Nature and nature is there to work in peace and harmony. Originally when we all started out in this world, we were made from cells that had all these communities, and we all these cells built together and built the world that we're living on right now. So we're all just one big fat organism, but just made of millions of communities of trillions of cells. And working in that cooperation is what makes this beautiful world go round years and millions and years and millions of years. I'm going on a right old tangent now. But the world has been operating for millions of years, long before human beings came along, and it did just fine. And now human beings are on it, and now that we've got this industrialized world, it's going Pete Tong. All this pollution and feeding off its resources. We're not working in harmony or cooperation with it anymore. We're working against it and against each other. And that's why there's all this disharmony in the world. And it really just makes me sad. Well, there's a tangent. Maybe one day I will be a motivational speaker. Once I home in on my my skills on speaking of science. I should leave that to Bruce Lipton, because that was terrible earlier. I actually have a great analogy for cells as well, actually, and how they're like computers, which is really cool. But we won't backtrack. We're going to continue on the route that I was going, which is binaural beats. Binaural beats. So anyway, binaural beats can help you sleep, concentrate, meditate, and focus. So they're clinically tested, but they can transform your life, and again they can feed into your subconscious and transform your subconscious mind. So while I can't do this energy psychology right now, I can look a little bit more into this. So what I've gone and done is I've gone and downloaded a couple of these brain syncs. I've got 3 of them. One, a super learning one, so I want to get my brain working as a whole brain thinking, which is what it does apparently. So you can sleep with them, headphones in at night, and then you can just listen to them any time of the day. And then so I've got one for super thinking, I've got one for success, and I've got one for attracting love. I really should get a oh God, I can't even say the bloody word, honestly. Procrastination. So there is a procrastinating brain sync track that you can purchase, which I've got a terrible problem with procrastination, so maybe that's something that I should get. So and then I got one for attracting love. Not just love. I mean, I would love to attract to something. I would. Everyone wants love. Love is the answer to everything. That is another Bruce Lipton chapter that we can go into. But it's not just attracting love for myself, but it's love of any kind, It's just being love, being kind, being open, spreading the love to other people, and in turn you will attract that back to you. And that's what I'm really learning, and that's what I want to be. I want to be the light. I want to be the love. So I'm trying these tracks out. I only got them last night. I listened to the Create Success and the binaural beats, not the binaural beats, but they are binaural beats, but the super learning one last night repetitively as I was trying to go to sleep. But honestly, I don't know what happened, but I couldn't sleep very well. I don't know if it's because I had a really big fat roast dinner and I was still stuffed when I went to sleep, and so therefore I couldn't sleep because my stomach was just in dismay, or whether these beats were just too much in my ears. Like, I don't know what it was, but in the end I had to had to switch it up and play the love one. But I didn't want to give up, but I just needed a break from it, because sometimes, you just need silence when you sleep, having something playing in your ear. And because before this, I actually did try, you can get like these frequency sleeping hypnotherapy things where it's like, 418 hertz is a really healing frequency. So I was trying that out to see if that can heal things in me. But now these binaural beats, I'm trying these, but these are just completely different altogether. And actually, earlier on, right, I did my transcendental meditation, but then I had a great idea. I thought, why not put the super learning binaural beat on whilst I'm doing this transcendental meditation? I thought, ooh, because it's just sound, there's no words there. So I was like, sod it, I'm going to do it right. So I was doing my mantra, I was doing my transcendental meditation, listening to the super learning, whole brain thinking binaural beats track, right? And honestly, it was the most craziest experience, or one of them I've ever had. And I've had a few since I'm doing this meditation, right? But it felt like my brain was like squeezing. Like, honestly, it was bizarre. It was like really, really squeezing, and I could feel these like waves going through my brain, but it was like everything was squeezing and getting tighter and tighter, but I could feel it in my whole brain. My whole brain was, I don't know, tightening. I don't know if it was thinking, it was tightening. It was really, really bizarre. But I put it on this super learning track last night when I was just doing some bits and bobs and doing a bit of studying, and yeah, like I did find out my mind was sharper and I was focusing more. So, and I looked at the reviews as well, some of these things. Her name's Kelly Howard. No, Kelly Howell. She's the one that makes all these tracks. And again, it was a link from Bruce Lipton's website, so I'm gonna trust it. What he says, he's like God to me now. Um, but yeah, I thought I'd give it a try. But the reviews are incredible, and a lot of people, with the love, talked about how they met someone that they loved. They met their man of their dreams afterwards, and with the wealth one, people randomly attracted wealth into their lives, and with the success thing, people then suddenly having better self belief patterns, and I don't know. But either way, it's worth a try, and I feel like I'm going to report on this and let you know how I'm going to get on with this. I'm going to keep trying to do it every night, and every time I'm learning or whenever I can throughout the day, I'm going to try and play these tracks and see if it has any change. It's like, honestly, I've said this for weeks now, right? Or months, I should say, but I'm like a prodigy. So I want to know if I can create the life that I want and manifest the life that I want. And it started off with law of attraction, and who knew it was going to go down this realm? And if I can spread the consciousness of this, or increase people's consciousness, or open up their minds to having a different outlook on life, so that they can then become the gods of their own lives, the curators of their own life, and have the life that they want, and just realize that the only thing that is stopping them from having the thing that they want in life is themselves, then freaking hell, even if I just did that for one person, like, to me, that is super, super rewarding. So one thing I would love to do is try and, break these untruths and try and bring this light to people's lives, and by becoming the prodigy of that myself. So I want to curate the life that I want, and then when I do, I'm going to write a book and become a motivational speaker. That is my mission in life. So yeah, I want to be a positive entity, but I feel like I've got a long way to go. But now I feel like I'm on the right track. I know where I need to go, and then what I need to do with it. And there's been times, honestly, with this whole like affirmation, this positive thinking thing. It's great and it's awesome to practice gratitude every day. You should always practice gratitude, and it's great to tell yourself you're beautiful and whatever. But man, it takes a lot of willpower to keep those affirmations up, and man, does it take a long time to really make an indent on that subconscious. So yeah, and you have your days, it's like a roller coaster. Well, life is a roller coaster, duality, of course. But you have a week you just can't be bothered to do it anymore, and it just gets too much. You want something quicker and harder and faster. And if I can help, if I can find that journey and find that end result myself, and help other people get towards that and understand that the only person inhibiting the life that they want is themselves, then that is pretty remarkable. I think so anyway. There is so much more that I could talk about and so much more that I would love to talk about. I would really love to have a conversation with Bruce Lipton. My mission actually is to get Bruce Lipton to listen to this beautiful podcast and get him to have an interview with me. I really want to manifest this, so I need to think it, I need to feel it, and get that feeling in line with that vision, and I can make it happen. I believe and I know that I can, and yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed my my dribblings, and I do apologise for the lack of scientific speech when I was talking about cells of the body. But if you would like to know a little bit more about that, then please check out Bruce Lipton and his Beyond Belief, and check out his website. This man is an absolute genius. I will talk more about my version or my spin on what he talks about. But for now, just know that you are the creator of your life. You can be that change, but you just need to wake up to that change. It's easier said than done. As they say, you can't lead people onto a path. You can just be the example and hope that people follow. And obviously just keep spreading the love. Thank you so much for listening. I can't wait to do my next show. I literally thought it was going to be like half an hour, 45 minutes, but I reckon it's been a good couple of hours that I've been yammering on for. Again, I've outdone myself here. Love it. Thank you so much. Namaste. Do you know what? Actually, I learned something really cool about Namaste the other day. Not just Namaste, but a few different ones. And their meanings. And I can't find them now, so that's always good. I have to find it though, because it was to do with what it actually means. It means this. So Namaste means the divinity in me recognizes and honors the divinity in you. Mayan, so in Lakesh, in Mayan means I am another you. I think that's so beautiful. So in Lakesh and namaste. And I look forward to episode 4. Over and out, guys. See you later, alligator and wild crocodile. Stay positive. All right, keep those vibrations high. Right. Oh my god, that was really that was something else. That goodbye there, wasn't it? Anyway, gonna stop talking poo now. Right. See you later, guys. Goodbye.